All right, we're live. So if we want to create a manufacturing company from scratch, we do have to create our manufacturing company from scratch. I guess there's a few things that we're going to need in order to do that. We have to have belief, right? There's certain things we have to believe if we're going to start a company from scratch. And so the things that we're in, these are sort of ground rules that we're going to use for our assignment. But we believe that there is a market for the thing that we're going to make. It would be pretty stupid to start a company if you didn't believe there was a market for the thing you're going to make. Does that make sense? We believe that our design work for this thing we're going to make is mostly complete. We believe that we've designed the thing. So who's doing an MQP? Anybody doing an MQP that's going to make something? No? You guys are doing it. You're doing an MQP that's going to make something? What's your MQP going to make? I couldn't hear you. A chairlift that helps handicapped people get into the pool. That sounds like a valuable thing for society, right? You believe it would be useful? And so do you believe at the end of your MQP you will have mostly figured out how to design this and how to build one? Yeah, okay. So we believe that we're at that state. And we believe that after 1 year of working for our new startup company, we will be able to start paying ourselves a salary. Which means we believe we don't need to pay ourselves a salary for that first year the startup is in operation. How do we do that? How do we get to the point where we don't need to pay ourselves a salary for that first year the startup's in operation? Yeah. We have saved money in advance. What else? Yeah. Live with your parents. Sorry. You live with his parents, maybe. What else? Have another job. Yeah. One of the ways we're going to find our investors is by telling them that we are not going to take a salary for the first year. I'm not going to invest in it if half of the money I give you the first year is going to your salary. But we'll talk about investors later. We get to that later in the thing. So we believe these things. It's like a maze here. All right, so we have our beliefs. Oh, the part you guys are familiar with. This is the product we're going to sell. We totally believe that people want to buy the ME1800 thermoacoustic engine because, well, you get to light shit on fire. That's cool. People like to buy that. It's got these components in it. We kind of know how to make these, right? So you guys, at least by the end of this term, will all be able to operate the machine so that you could be the person running the machine that makes this. And you could probably put them in boxes and ship them to your customers. We believe that. So our group project 3 is going to be, 1, to determine the startup cost for starting the company that's going to manufacture these Stirling engines. 2, we're going to assume that we had to either borrow some of the money for that, take it out of our pocket, or get investors to help us pay for it. And we're going to assume that our investors are going to want their money back. Most investors, capital investors in startups, want their money back at some point. Anybody get any idea how quickly investors like to have their money back these days? Anybody heard? What's that? Yeah, well, but they're willing. They understand there's a high potential for reward here, so they're willing to wait a little bit to get their money back. You have your hand up? 2 years? 2 would be pretty fast. 3 is not a bad number. Some of them will go up to 5. But by 5 years, everybody wants their money back because they want to use it for something else. So if I'm going to make this kind of an investment as an investor, I'm going to want to get paid back within 5 years. Let's say 3. We're going to shoot for 3 because we got to sell it to the investors, right? That's one of the things we do with our startup is we bring in our investors. How do we pay back the investors? Because they are not going to take truckfuls of Sterling engines as their payment. Pretty much guaranteed. Yes. Well, we're going to give them shares of the company to sort of guarantee that payback. But those shares of the company at the startup moment are worth a little bit less than the paper they're printed on. Because if there was nothing printed on the paper, you could use the paper for something else. Does that make sense? So the shares of the company are a belief that the company is going to be able to make money to pay them back. So how are we going to actually pay them back? Is we're operating the company. What are our options if we want to pay our investors back? Yes. So profit or revenue from sales, or profit is a way that we can get the money that pays the investors back. Does that make sense? Are there any other ways we can get the money to pay the investors back? Get more investors, and that's something that startups do also. We're going to avoid the go get more investors in order to pay the original investors back. What else? We could borrow the money, right? We could go borrow the money. So say we have, now our investors though, they have equity in the company unless they're debt investors. So it's in their best interest that it's revenue from sales that does it. So we'd like revenue from sales to pay back the investors. So again, our assignment is going to be to figure out what's the startup cost. And assume that we're not going to take a salary for the first year. But how many people in your group? Yeah, 3 people in your group. So you 3 people are forming this company. You 3 people are going to work there for the first year with no salary, living at mom's house, eating ramen noodles. I think startup founders eat a lot of ramen noodles. And a lot of them live at mom's house or in the back of their Volvo station wagon. Profit revenue from sales. What are you guys going to do? We're going to pay back the investors in 3 years. So your project, your assignment for the group assignment is going to be to find the price point for selling. So who determines the value? Right, the customer is supposed to determine the value, right? So we're going to find our target price point. We don't know if it's going to be the price point that the consumer is willing to pay, but we're going to find a target price point that we have to sell these at in order to pay the investors back in 3 years. Start paying ourselves a salary that we want to make in 1 year. So what assumptions do you have to make with price point? You have to assume a volume of sales, right? Or you can assume that you can sell them as fast as you can make them. Right? So you're going to have to pick a price point and a volume, or you're going to have to pick a price point and assume that you can sell them as fast as you can make them and determine a rate. And so you guys just say which one you did. Pay ourselves in 1 year, pay the investors in 3 years, and let's say we want a profit, right? How much profit do we want? This is the fun part. Now you can't have all of it. This is the fun part, though. We get to decide what profit do we want. What do you think a good profit would be? 100% profit. Okay, I suppose that'd be a cool profit to have. A more realistic profit, especially for a capital-intensive business like this, might be 30%. So 30% of revenue is profit. That's what we say. So if 100% of revenue is profit, then you have zero cost, right?
But the revenue is double what it costs.
30% of revenue is profit. If 100% of revenue is profit, then there is zero cost. Yeah, by the way I stated the percentage. So we want 30% of revenue to be in our pocket. We want to pay ourselves a reasonable salary after 1 year. We want to pay the investors back in 3 years. We need to pick a price point and a volume. That gets us there based on what we know about the cost of making the Stirling engines. So let's just look, as our first example, let's look at the Y block. What does it cost to make the first Y block? What do you guys think it costs to make a Y block? If you were sourcing this to a job shop, if you sent this out, you want somebody else to manufacture it for you, what do you think they'll charge you per Y block? Any guesses? Somebody had their hand up in the back. Okay, we'll get to that. But what do you guys think? What do you think one of these is worth? Yeah. So you think a job shop will say this for like $15, including the cost of material. All right. So let's go. What goes into that cost? And now remember, we're building our company from scratch. So the cost for our first part is going to be significantly higher than $15. You guys believe that? Yeah. All right. But $15, not a horrible price for this part. Depending on the, let me see. I got minimum 2 setups. So you figure what there's time involved when you send this to a job shop, right? They're quoting based on how long it's going to take them to make the part. So I get 2 setups, maybe 10 minutes for each side for setup. I got, do you guys remember how long it took to manufacture? How long it took to do the machining when you did these? 3 minutes. That was 3-minute tack time. There was 6 minutes total machining time because you were 3 minutes on each side. So 6 minutes plus maybe 15 minutes to set up and get ready. So minimum cost or minimum time is, what did I say? 6 plus 10, 16, 20 minutes. So anybody know what job shops charge these days for hourly rate for their time? It's anywhere between 60 and 120 in this area right now. So if you say it's $80 an hour, 20 minutes. So 20 minutes would make 3 of it an hour. So it's a third of $80, which is maybe a little bit more than you said, but about $15. $15 is probably a good price for this part. Okay, but we're gonna build our company from scratch because that's more fun, right? All right, what's it cost us to make the first part? Material. Right, you said material was one of our costs. Check it out, that was my first slide. So for $21.63 from McMaster Car, we can buy enough material to make 4 Y blocks. So what's a quarter of 21? About 5. So $5 for material. Because we're estimating, right? What else goes into the cost of making our Y block? Yeah. Oh, we need the machine tools. All right, well, we're just looking at the Y block now. So you can make this on one machine if you don't run 2 at the same time, right? So you make this on one machine. Let's get a Haas mini mill. And so I got a quote last night for a Haas mini mill that's capable of making this part. It was $44,000. What else goes into the cost of making this first part? Somebody else. There's a Milky Way in it. What do you got? The tooling. Any guesses on the cost of the tooling to make this part? So our 3/8 end mill is about $60. 3/8 chamfer mill is about $40. The face mill is $652.35 plus 4 $28, $29 inserts. That number 7 drill is cheap, $2. Quarter 20 tap, about $22. That's the tooling we use to make this part, right? Yeah. So that's about $900 for the tooling for this part. Now the tooling wears out over time, right? We're going to ignore that for now. When you get into figuring production, you can make some assumptions about how the tooling wears out. Because we're going to have to go into production to pay all this back, right? What else goes into the cost of making this? Yes. Power, utilities. If we're running a mini mill pretty much all day long in the Worcester market, how many hours a day you guys want to run? 10 hours a day? How many days a week? So 5 days at 10 hours, 50 hours a week. For just a mini mill, well, we'd have lights too, right? And we're probably going to want to have some sort of heat in the winter if we're doing this in Worcester. Let's call it, I don't know, $200 for the electricity, $300 for the electricity, maybe. Yeah, 5. We'll call it $500 for utilities because we're going to throw in cable because you guys want internet, right? Yeah. So $500 a month for utilities. And so times, where do we put the utilities? In a location that we've what? Bought or rented? Yeah, let's lease the location. So right now, right in this area, probably need about 2,000 square feet. Got about 1,000 square feet for the shop, about 1,000 square feet for the office. You can shuffle that stuff back and forth. We're gonna want an office, right? There's 3 of you. You guys are gonna want to have a place to bring people to say, look at our cool startup, right? So about $12 a square foot per year for the space in Worcester right now for about 2,000 square feet. That's about $24,000 rent. And you have found an extremely generous landlord. They're willing to sign a 1-year lease with an extension. Usually you get 5-year leases around here, but we're willing to give you a 1-year lease at $24,000 a year. And then our utilities, if we do an annual cost on the utilities at $500 a month, that's what, $6,000 a year? If we get these are annual cost. Because we got to get started. We're going to have to agree to a year. Now, you could get away without the whole $6,000 up front for the utilities, right? Because you might fail after the first month. But what I do know is that if you start a new commercial account in Worcester with National Grid, they're going to want a $900 deposit to open the account. So you're about $1,000 into utilities, even if you fail after the first month and didn't use all of that. What else goes into the cost of making that first part? We're not there yet. Oh, dude, no. Where's my slide? You are going to work for no salary for the first year, and at the startup stage, you are the machinist. You are the engineer. You sweep the floors. You empty the trash. You make the coffee. I don't think anybody wants this Milky Way now because I've been holding it in my hand and it's all like melted. But you can have a Snickers, even though you don't get paid. I'll give you a Snickers. What else? Coolant. Any guesses on the cost of the coolant? 5-gallon bucket of the coolant's about $150. Say we need 2 of those, 300. Probably won't get you through a whole year, but it'll get you started. Yeah. Oh, licenses for like what? Yeah, so we're gonna like need to incorporate or something like that. Yeah, so call that $1,000. Call it 2. Because you're gonna hire a lawyer, right? This is really cheap. With 3 people forming a partnership, they're each actually gonna want their own lawyer, plus the lawyer that draws up the partnership agreement that works for the business. So 2,000 is really cheap for that. It's like you had your brother-in-law do it, who is just about finished with law school. What else we got? Coolant. We got tooling. What are we going to hold the tools with? Tool holders. Tool holders. Those collet holders are maybe $100 each for the cheap ones, plus the collets. So we'll call it about $100, $80 for the cheap collet holders, $20 for the collets. There's like 5 of them. So there's 500. What else? Yes. Oh yeah, computer. Do we have a good picture of this? Can I erase it? What's the total? Somebody got a calculator? Quick. What are we up to so far? Oh, you know what? I'll just use the other whiteboard. This one can go up. Control room. Left screen up. Left projector mute. And then angle that a little bit, maybe even move it closer. Perfect. All right, so what do we got? What did you say? Computers? So we could make some assumptions here. We could say we're going to buy like a workstation, and that everybody coming in as the co-founders, right? You guys co-founders, you guys all have a laptop already, and you're going to use your own laptop for your personal stuff. So what's a good workstation that a manufacturing company might want to have cost? Ah, you can get it cheaper than that. I'll call it $3,500. But you need well, do you need it? Why do you need the computer? We got CAD and CAM software, right? We're going to need to do our engineering and our programming, yeah?
Do your product rendering, edit the videos.
Yeah. Oh, that stuff too?
Yeah.
So, all right, so we'll just get the Adobe Suite. What is it? Adobe E in Creative Cloud?
Yeah.
Although, you know, the video editor on the cell phone is pretty good, and it's only like $40 a year for a good one. Anybody know how much this costs, by the way? For who? For a student, it costs like $10 a month, doesn't it? Used to be $10 a month for students. But I pay $69 a month, $59 a month for it. So what, 60 bucks a month is how many is that annually? How about that CAD and CAM software? Any guesses on price? So what do you guys want to use for CAD? SolidWorks. 10,000 for the license. There's a maintenance fee too. Ish. You can negotiate that. You don't have to buy all the options. You might get it as cheap as 5. What about CAM software? What do you guys want to use for CAM software? You get. So he wants to use the SolidWorks CAM add-in. You want to use a spree. Let's just. So when you're building your company, you can make some of these choices. If you look up prices, you use whatever price you want. But if we're using a spree and we got the same license that you guys have access to here at WPI, $35,000 per seat. They don't sell to small job shops a lot. Now, anybody know what it would cost to use Autodesk Fusion 360 to get both of these for a startup? They give it to startups for the first year. Yeah, if you're under 100,000 in revenue.
Cloud-based, so they have all your files.
Just saying, there's options. You guys can choose the option. You're building your company, not my company. I like Esprit, but it's because it's the first one that I learned on. And I have found that people tend to like the first CAM software that they learned on the best, unless it was Gibbs CAM. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that on the internet. What else we got? What else adds cost? First, remember, we haven't made a part yet. We're still adding up the cost to make the first part. What else adds cost? Computer CAD software. What did I miss? What did we miss?
Windows license.
Yeah, we'll get that with the computer. That's in the $3,500 for the computer. Yeah. Say again? Fixturing. We'll call it work holding. And so at a minimum, we need a vise and a set of parallels, right? So a vise is about, I don't know, 1,200. Last time I bought a box of parallels, it was $570. And that was with WPI's discount. Anything else to make the first part? Yeah? Yeah. So because we don't have any employees yet, we can get an exemption from workman's comp insurance. But we have to apply for it. We have to have an insurance agent to help us apply for it. And it's in Massachusetts. I don't know about other states. In Massachusetts, because we don't have any employees besides the owners of the company, we can get an exemption from that workman's comp. But we will need liability insurance because our lease will specify that we must have liability insurance for our space, naming the owner of the building as liability insurance. I don't know. But we don't do anything, right? We haven't done anything yet. We're not making like an industrial machine tool that somebody's going to get, so we don't have to worry about insurance for us screwing up the design and people dying on a mass scale, because they sell insurance for that too. We don't need that. So call it $2,000 a year. Might be more, might be less, but it's not a bad estimate to get started. It's going to depend on how large the space is that we rent, the location of the space, what else is around it, and what we tell the insurance company we're doing in that space. For example, if you tell them you're going to be welding in that space and one of your employees is going to be a welder, yeah, you can add, I don't think you have to add a 0, but you can at least double that number. But if you tell them that you're doing light manufacturing and operating very safe computer-controlled machine tools that don't operate when the door's open, for example, your insurance prices will be lower. If you have crappy old beat-up machines, your insurance prices will be higher because the insurance company recognizes that. And they will send somebody to look at the facility. What else you got? If you think of more things, you could go ahead and add them in when you're doing your assignment. But I think we've got a lot of the tops here. right? We've got software, we've got computers, we've got work holding, we've got insurance, we've got tools, tooling, material, we've got our mini mill, utilities, rent, coolant. I think we pretty much got it. What? Oh, you want to bring in some sales guys or marketing? Facebook ads. I think actually Facebook ads would be a way to sell this. I think Instagram would be a way to sell this too. You want to do some SEO work, search engine optimization work. We probably need to have one of the three of us probably needs to be doing a blog so that people will come to our website in the first place so they'll see that we're selling these. So e-commerce stuff. Yeah. Oh, packaging. Yeah. Here's my recommendation for packaging. And I'll let you guys do that stuff on your own because there's other stuff that we've forgotten. I'm sure there's other stuff that we've forgotten. Every business startup learns that there's other stuff that they have forgotten as they get into the business. But use Uline to get pricing for the packaging. Uline's a great vendor for that packaging stuff, yeah. And figure out what packaging you need. We're going to provide you with the bill of materials for the components that we currently purchase for this engine. So the strap, the fasteners, the O-rings, and the test tubes. And I think I'll tell them to put our current pricing on that so you don't have to go look up those prices. Go ahead. It's pretty common to make the customer pay for shipping. Oh, I guess not. Amazon. I don't recommend becoming an Amazon vendor with this part. Maybe. Maybe we should do a fundraiser and raise money for the labs. We could sell these on Amazon. WPI alums would buy them. Like the ones that graduated before they got a chance to make them. It's a thought. Did we leave anything out? So we've got somebody do a quick total. Who's got a calculator? The cost to make the first one. How much the second one cost? We know how much the second one costs, right? Because we said that we're not going to take a salary. We know that the second one costs about $5. But the first one, how much does it cost? Quick, somebody. Nobody was typing this into Excel as we did it. I should have, I said that, didn't I? I said, I'm going to make somebody in the classroom open up Excel and type everything in as we go. What do you got? It's a race. All right. Whoever gets to the number first gets a Three Musketeers bar.
$129,975, including Esprit and SolidWorks. Less.
So 130 grand to make the first one. But don't fear. Second one costs about $5. So I want you guys to expand this exercise because it's the entire Stirling engine that we're making. So we've gone through one of the components. Now, a lot of the stuff that's on this list applies to all the components, right? So you might want to separate that out. So stuff like forming a corporation, that applies to all of the components, not just the Y block. But include the base with the operations. Include the cylinder and the piston. And what do we have to do to make the cylinder and the piston? We got to buy a lathe. Go to the Haas website, get a quote on the lathe that you want to buy to make these parts. It's really easy. Don't have them email you the quote, because then your email address is going to be sitting 70 of you ask for a quote on a lathe in one day. Man, because they'll all go to the same salesperson because of the IP address from which you requested the quote will be WPI's. And I know the sales guy, and he doesn't need 70 email notifications for a lathe quote from WPI in one day. But if you fill out the stuff and you just don't give them your email address, it tells you the price on the screen. If I ever wanted to spam him, I know how to do it now, though. One of my friends rents rental properties in Boston, and one of her tenants was upset with her. So he posted a Craigslist ad for an apartment that didn't exist at a really low price with her phone number. And she had to get a new phone. Like, she had to get a new phone number. Couldn't fix it. So, I shouldn't have told you guys that, huh? All right, what's missing? What have we forgotten? Yes. Could you buy the machine used? Yes, you absolutely can buy the machine used. What else could we do if we wanted to? So, for your assignment, I want you to figure out the cost of starting a company by buying the stuff that you need. You know what we missed? There's no metrology equipment on here. How are we going to know we've made the parts correctly? We're going to need to get some calipers, micrometers at a minimum. When we go to do the piston cylinder fit here, we're going to need an ID bore mic. That's like $500-600 just for that one tool. So as we're thinking about starting our startup, what else could we do besides buy all the stuff? What are our other options besides buy all the stuff? Somebody said steal it. I'm not going to go with steal it as one of the other options. Yeah. Go ahead, WPI. Oh, I do recommend anybody that's starting their venture, don't buy friggin' furniture for your office. You can get free office furniture. It's out there. Just cruise down, and if you want fancy office furniture, cruise down the street in a nice neighborhood on Sunday after the yard sales. Right? If you don't care, just cruise down the street. Don't pay for office furniture. Well, we started a company 3 years ago, my wife and I, and we did buy one piece of office furniture. I actually paid money for one piece of office furniture in a startup that I did 3 years ago, and it was a fold-out couch because I knew that I would be sleeping in the office a lot. And so there's actually a room in my office where I have a bed, but during the day it looks like a couch, so people can come in and they can like sit on the couch. So I did pay for that, but it was $100 at IKEA. So I don't really count that as buying office furniture. What else? You could lease or rent some of the stuff. You could lease that mini mill. Don't go get a quote for the cost of leasing the mini mill. But if you Google lease rates and lease terms, you could do the math yourself. But to get 3 mini mills and 3 ST10s, when I quoted this because I wanted to replace all the equipment that you guys use for M1800, it was going to be $60,000 a year lease payments to get 6 machines. So you could estimate the lease cost based on that. So $10,000 a year for that mini mill is a potential, but you have to sign a 3-year lease. Now, granted, if you've incorporated correctly and you sign that 3-year lease, what's the worst that could happen if you close after 1 year? Yes, but if our company has no money, even if they sue us and we lose the lawsuit, they can't collect from us. We have no money. The worst that could happen is your company goes bankrupt, right? If you do this part right, you might want to avoid the discount lawyer, right? Our president has gone bankrupt how many times? Right? And he's a renowned world-class, oh wait, he just says that he's a renowned world-class businessman, right? Right, but no, so bankruptcy is an option when you start a startup. In fact, something like 70% of them end that way. I don't know the statistics, but it's a huge, huge number that end that way. So we can lease equipment. We can scrounge equipment. We can shop Craigslist for our equipment. You get a whole box of machinist tools from Craigslist for $200 because he passed away and his family's selling his tools. They don't know what it's worth, right? So there's ways that you can get some of these expenses down. But there's one way that nobody's mentioned yet. That is totally, by far, the cheapest way to do this. Without a doubt. Yes? I would say that's the second cheapest way to do it. So our other option would be to get quotes from existing companies that could make all these parts, right? And then maybe they ship us the parts and we assemble them and ship them to our customers. Maybe we pay one of them to do the assembly and they drop ship them to our customers. And so maybe all we did was set up the e-commerce site for selling these Stirling engines. Somebody else manufactures them. That's an option. I don't think it's the cheapest way to do it. Yes? So you could lease time from an existing corporation at hours that they're not running their machines. You could absolutely do that. That's one I didn't think of. There's another one. That one might actually be the solution. You got to find the company. That's hard. There's some networking involved.
China.
China's just outsourcing, and China is not necessarily the cheapest way to get these. We outsource a lot of parts, and we can get them made in Millbury cheaper than we can get them made in China frequently. Depends on the part. Especially now with all the 25, 15% tariffs on parts like this because they're made out of aluminum, which is one of the items that's covered by the tariff. You could find an existing company that has all of the capacity to make these parts, like the one that you were going to lease the time from, whose owner would like to retire. And you could buy the company from the owner, and you could add your part to their current production, but you get their current, what's profit come from? It comes from cash flow, right? Profit rate is the same thing as cash flow. Out of the company's existing cash flow, because they have existing customers, they have existing parts, they have existing employees. You could buy an existing company that could make the part, and if you do it right, they call it a leveraged buyout. This is the amazing thing. You can do it for no cash. And in fact, you'll get paid that first year out of profit from the existing company. There's ways to do it. So that might be the best way to do it. But that is not your option. Leveraged buyout of an existing company is not one of the options. Unless you have one that you know is for sale and you can contact me, we can talk about. No, kidding. That is our startup. The business plan for the startup that I have is to grow by acquisition and to grow by doing leveraged buyouts of other existing manufacturing companies. And so that's how our growth happens. And we still haven't bought any furniture. We've bought machines, we've bought tooling, we've bought lots of stuff. We have not bought furniture. Don't buy furniture for your startup. All right.